Here we have the Nerf Zombie Strike out. No, wait a second. That's the Nerf Zombie Strike out. This bat blaster is a symbolic change of sorts for Nerf. Because if you look here on the packaging, it says Nerf Zombie. It doesn't say Nerf Zombie Strike. So it seems like the Nerf Zombie blasters are in a bit of a change. So we're gonna open it up, test it out, and see what's inside. As we unclip this from the box, I almost did a double take when I saw this on store shelves because it said Nerf Zombie Strikeout. I think that was kind of a clever way of acknowledging what the Nerf Zombie Strike line did for Nerf, but evolving it a little bit. Once we get a little closer look at this, we can see if it's a worthy successor or if they should have kept the Zombie Strike name. This is the Strikeout outside of the packaging. It's a bit small, but there are some pretty cool details on here. We'll get a little closer look at that. Inside here, it says there are 8 darts, which is pretty nice considering that there are 2 barrels for darts to sit. And this is what the darts look like. If I'm not mistaken, this is a lighter green color than the Nerf Zombie Strike stuff. And of course, it doesn't have the printing on the side of the darts, which only some Zombie Strike blasters had, not all of them. What you do with this, it's a top loader. You plug the darts in at the top, and you pull down on the priming bar at the bottom of the handle here. Once you activate this right here, that's going to fire the dart. So here we go. All right. That's the Nerf Zombie Strikeout. I'm gonna have such a tough time remembering that it's not Zombie Strike Strikeout. Immediately, I can draw a couple comparisons for this blaster. One being the Nerf and Minecraft Heartstealer sword, and the other being some of the older Zombie Strike blasters. The reason I say the Heartstealer sword is because it is a melee weapon, also a blaster underneath the blade. This has a foam blade buzzsaw on it, as well as a blaster. So it kind of takes that inspiration, that firing mechanism, and dual use. And in terms of design and style, it takes cues from things like the brain saw. And if we compare it to the Strikeout here, we can notice that the foam on this has a little splash of paint on it, whereas the brain saw thing is just that blaze orange. Since we're getting into the design and decoration of the blaster, I'm sure you've noticed by now this graffiti styling all up and down the bat. And all this graffiti is a result of that printing technology that they use to place the designs and graphics right on the product. As I rotate it around, you'll see that the entire blaster here has some kind of decoration. Even on this grip right here, there is some of that printing technology that puts a little grime on the hand wrap. And here it is compared to the Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem blaster. You can see a lot of similarities with the graffiti there. Let's take a little closer look at this, and I'll point out the parts that are foam versus not foam. This gray buzzsaw here is foam. It's that soft, squishy foam that we see on Nerf Zombie Strike blasters like the brain saw. This barbed wire wrap around the top of the bat here, this is also foam. It's a little more dense. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's wrapped around the core bat here, so it's giving it a little more support structure. The bat part, including this grip, is all plastic. And if you are curious, yes, the top of the blaster portion up here is hard plastic as well. I can't help but wonder why more foam isn't included on this. It is a bat after all, and try as all of the warning labels might, this is something that people are going to be swinging around. So if you see one of these coming at you, I would recommend ducking. When it comes to the actual blaster component of the Strikeout, it does the job that it's set out to do. It's a 2-barrel jolt, more or less. The T-pull on the priming bar makes it really easy. The one thing that I will caution you, don't make the mistake I did with this and hold down on the grip while you're priming it, because you might accidentally touch the activation button and the dart will go flying off to the side. I want to make sure that you make these count, because there's only 2 darts in the barrels. And here you can kind of see what happens, like when I prime it, the dart might just go flying. Yeah, and I wasn't even holding it all that hard, I was just trying to keep it in place. So a tip I have for this blaster is you hold it up here to avoid the button that fires the darts, because then it won't prematurely launch the dart. Now that we've kind of gotten a closer look at the blaster, seen how it all works, what are some of the things that I like about it? One of the things I really like is the included use of foam. I think more blasters should make use of that, especially things that look melee in nature. The other thing I really like about this blaster is the design printed on top of it. And it might give us an indication of how the Zombie line differs from the Zombie Strike line. And the other thing I like about this blaster is it's not just a single fire. There are 2 spots for darts, and that makes this blaster more useful than your typical Nerf Jolt. Now, something I would have changed about this blaster is maybe make it slightly larger. As it stands now, I don't even think this is as big as one of those novelty bats that you can pick up at a baseball stadium. For something called a Strikeout, and it features a baseball on the back, having something this small is, well, a little interesting choice. Even just extending it a little more would give it a little more substantial weight, a little more substantial heft. The last thing I would have done here is fortify the top of this thing a little heavier with foam. There are some big parts right here that are solid, hard plastic, and if you have something that looks like a bat in your hand, I don't know if the warnings are going to stop people from swinging this around and accidentally hurting something, breaking something, or someone. How that would have changed the design is anybody's guess, but when we're talking Nerf here, we're thinking safety, and just adding a little extra foam up here would have been the more safe option. Let's zoom in so you can get some really up-close shots of this Nerf Zombie Strikeout, and then we'll loop back. I'll talk about my final thoughts with this blaster. Blaster on store shelves and it didn't bear the Nerf Zombiestrike name, it was hard not to have like immediate visceral reaction of like, where did the Nerf Zombiestrike stuff go? What was wrong with the Nerf Zombiestrike stuff? It looks like Nerf Zombiestrike. Why are we not calling this Nerf Zombiestrike? And I have no idea why they just decided to truncate it to Nerf Zombie. And in a lot of ways, looking at it, playing with it, it picks up a lot of the same design DNA as Nerf Zombiestrike. Whether or not that will carry throughout the whole Nerf Zombie line is yet to be seen. This is a fairly interesting entry into the whole Nerf Zombie saga. Design-wise, this thing looks cool. And the fact that it's got 2 dart barrels rather than just 1, when it could have easily been a single shot blaster, was a nice feature. The printing technology I like. It might be a little over the top, but I think that is part of the charm. And while it might look a little grainy up close, when you have it from a distance or here on camera, it displays wonderfully. So if you've been wondering where the Nerf Zombiestrike line has gone, I think it's just called now Nerf Zombie, and you can pick up this Strikeout now. So that's everything I have for you about the Nerf Zombie Strikeout. Thanks for watching, and if you like Nerf blasters, if you like action figures, if you like toys in general, be sure to follow along, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.